kind of a heavy hood, isn't it?
Yeah, well, fiberglass was supposed to be lightweight, but...
There was an outfit in Topeka, Kansas that somehow ended up with this car. And my dad traded 3 cars for it.
Wayne Carini has never been one to seek the spotlight. He doesn't shout to be heard, doesn't dress to impress, and doesn't follow trends to stay relevant. Yet, at 72 years old, he stands as one of the most respected figures in the world of classic automobiles. He's not just known, he's trusted. Not because he's a celebrity, but because he's genuine. Because in a world that often values flash over substance, Wayne Carini has always chosen substance. His journey began not in a showroom, but in a garage. Born into the world of restoration, Wayne grew up under the guidance of his father, Bob Carini, a man revered in collector circles long before the term car culture was mainstream. Bob didn't just fix cars, he revived them. And Wayne, from an early age, was right there beside him, learning, watching, working, polishing chrome, tuning engines, respecting the craftsmanship of a bygone era. Those early days weren't glamorous. They were honest. And they taught Wayne that these machines weren't just metal. They were pieces of history, stories frozen in time, waiting to be understood and preserved. That mindset stayed with him long after childhood ended. Where others saw a price tag, Wayne saw legacy. Where others chased the next trend, he chased authenticity. As the years went by, Wayne quietly built a reputation in the collector community as a man who knew what mattered. Not just the value of a car, but the value of the story behind it. His passion wasn't for profit. It was for preservation. He believed in doing things the right way, even if it took longer, even if it cost more, even if no one else was watching. Wayne Carini became something rare in the automotive world, a trusted voice in an industry full of noise. And while his name would eventually reach millions, it was never the goal. For Wayne, it was always simple. Keep the past alive, one car at a time. As Wayne Carini moved from apprentice to master, the values passed down from his father remained the foundation of everything he did. Precision, patience, and pride in the process. These weren't just principles in the garage. They became his way of life. While the world rushed toward automation and mass production, Wayne continued to work with his hands, believing that true craftsmanship could never be rushed. By the time he was in his early 20s, Wayne was already restoring cars that most people only read about. Duesenbergs, Packards, early Ferraris. He didn't just repair them, he brought them back to life. Every bolt tightened, every panel aligned, every coat of paint done with reverence. For Wayne, restoration wasn't just technical, it was emotional. He believed every car had a soul, and his job was to honor it. Unlike many in the business, Wayne never let ego take the wheel. He didn't flaunt his work. He didn't cut corners for profit. He gained a reputation not just for skill, but for integrity. Collectors knew when they left a vehicle in his care, it would be returned better than they imagined, and truer to its origins. His work began attracting attention from museums, collectors, and serious enthusiasts. He became the quiet name passed from one phone call to the next, someone you called when you had something special. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but he was the most respected. And in the collector car world, respect is everything. Still, Wayne never saw himself as famous. He was just doing what he loved, getting his hands dirty, bringing history back to life, spending late nights in the garage with the smell of oil and lacquer thick in the air. That was where he felt most at home. Not under bright lights, but under the hood. Wayne Carini had built a life on excellence, humility, and an unwavering love for the automobile. And while the world outside continued to change, Wayne remained exactly where he was most needed, preserving the past, one masterpiece at a time. By the early 2000s, Wayne Carini's name was already circulating among the most discerning collectors in the world. But everything changed when the rest of the world caught up with him. What began as quiet craftsmanship soon transformed into a television phenomenon. In 2008, Chasing Classic Cars debuted, and almost overnight, Wayne became a household name. The show wasn't loud or scripted. It wasn't about drama or manufactured tension. It was about the cars. And that's why it worked. Viewers were invited into Wayne's world, not just to see rare machines, but to experience the hunt, the history, and the meticulous effort that goes into restoring and preserving these vehicles. It was an education for some, a dream for others, and for Wayne, just another day doing what he loved. He didn't change for the cameras. He didn't start acting or playing a role. Wayne was Wayne, quiet, thoughtful, focused. He wasn't trying to entertain, he was trying to enlighten, and that authenticity resonated. Car enthusiasts, casual viewers, even people who didn't know a spark plug from a speedometer found themselves captivated by his passion. Chasing classic cars wasn't just a show, it was a window into a fading world. A world where the artistry of hand-built machines still mattered, where people like Wayne fought to protect the legacies written in chrome and steel. And, as the show grew in popularity, so did Wayne's influence. Not because he sought it, but because he earned it. But even with the cameras rolling, Wayne never lost focus. He never let fame steer the ship. The shop still came first. The cars were still sacred. And if a camera crew had to wait while he finished aligning a vintage fender or correcting a paint flaw, so be it. Wayne Carini didn't become a star by changing who he was. He became a star by staying exactly the same. And in doing so, he reminded millions of what it truly means to love something, not for attention, but for the art of it. Wayne Carini doesn't just see cars, he feels them. Where others see a shell of rust and age, Wayne sees history waiting to be uncovered. It's not just about the make or the market value, it's about the story, the journey, who owned it, where it raced, what roads it's seen. That's what drives Wayne. Chasing the soul of a machine, not just the metal. It's this rare eye for detail, for authenticity, that has made him one of the most trusted figures in the collector car world. He can spot originality in a sea of fakes, a small detail, like the curve of a fender, the wear on an emblem, or the aging of leather, tells him more than any title ever could. He knows when something's been altered, repainted, or over-restored. And he's never afraid to walk away when a car isn't right, no matter how rare or beautiful. Collectors value that honesty. In an industry full of polish and persuasion, Wayne is a purist. He won't oversell a car or promise perfection where it doesn't exist. His clients aren't just buyers, they're stewards of history. And Wayne treats every transaction as a responsibility to protect that legacy. This deep connection to the craft, to the cars themselves, has led him into barns, warehouses, and private collections all over the world. He's found forgotten Ferraris under tarps, vintage Bugattis gathering dust, and American muscle cars long hidden away from the public eye. But Wayne isn't just chasing the next big find. He's preserving stories that would otherwise be lost. He often says the real treasure isn't the car, it's the journey to find it. The conversations with owners, the memories shared, the family histories that come pouring out when someone opens a garage door for the first time in 40 years. Those moments remind Wayne why he does this. To him, collecting isn't about accumulation, it's about connection. And with every new discovery, Wayne isn't just adding to a collection, he's adding to a legacy. Despite the growing fame, Wayne Carini never forgot where it all started. In the family shop, working side by side with his father. That connection to family never left him. In fact, it became the heartbeat of his business. Wayne didn't just build a brand, he built a legacy that honors the generations before him and inspires those to come. Motorsports, his Connecticut-based shop, isn't a flashy showroom filled with modern comforts. It's a working garage, filled with the smell of oil and old leather, where the past is preserved one bolt at a time. Wayne's team isn't made up of hired celebrities or influencers. It's a crew of seasoned craftsmen, many of whom have worked with him for years. And it's a place where family isn't just welcome, it's central. Wayne's daughter, Lindsay, became a visible part of his world, joining him at events and occasionally appearing on Chasing Classic Cars. While she didn't follow the restoration path directly, she brought her own energy to the family legacy, particularly around the business and public engagement. Wayne encouraged her, just like his father encouraged him, never forcing the path, only opening the door. But behind the public image, there was always a deeper story. Wayne's daughter, Kimberly, born with autism, has been one of the most profound influences on his life. Her presence grounded Wayne in a way that fame and fortune never could. His role as a father became a quiet source of strength. In interviews, Wayne often speaks with pride and emotion about Kimberly, not because she shaped his career, but because she shaped his character. That deep sense of family, through blood, through business, through love, defines Wayne as much as any car ever has. He didn't build his career to escape his roots. He built it to honor them, and in doing so, he's created more than a legacy in steel and horsepower. He's built something far more enduring, a name that stands for values, for craftsmanship, for connection, for family. When Chasing Classic Cars first aired in 2008, the show didn't rely on drama or conflict. There were no fake deadlines, no manufactured crises, just real cars, real stories, and a real man doing what he's done his whole life. That authenticity resonated. Viewers didn't just learn about rare cars, they got a glimpse into a dying art form. Restoration, negotiation, human connection. Wayne brought all of it to the screen with humility and heart. But the success of the show brought challenges too. Wayne suddenly became a public figure. He couldn't walk through an auction without someone stopping him for a photo or asking about a car they once owned. Events that used to be quiet and personal became media spots. And while Wayne remained gracious, the increased attention occasionally pulled him away from the simplicity he loved most, just being in the garage, wrench in hand, solving a mechanical mystery. Still, he never lost sight of the mission. Chasing Classic Cars wasn't about Wayne being famous. It was about sharing the soul of the automotive world with people who might never otherwise see it. And in doing so, he inspired a generation of viewers to look at old cars not as objects, but as storytellers. For Wayne Carini, restoration has never been about perfection. It's about preservation. He doesn't believe every car needs to sparkle under showroom lights. In fact, sometimes the rust tells a more compelling story than a fresh coat of paint ever could. This belief, this respect for patina, sets Wayne apart. In a world where so many rush to restore, repaint, and replace, Wayne often chooses to leave things as they are. He knows that each ding, each scratch, each worn patch of leather is a fingerprint of history. It's the evidence of life, of use, of love, of time. To erase that is, in some ways, to erase the car's soul. That philosophy guides every decision he makes in the shop. It's not about making something new. It's about honoring what was, and it's a lesson he's passed on to countless others, clients, fans, and young restorers alike. Some of the most admired cars Wayne has worked on haven't been the most flawless. They've been the most honest. Wayne often says, "Let the car tell you what it wants." That's more than just a catchy phrase. It's a mindset. He listens to the car, studies it, understands its life before making any decisions. Is it a race-worn Ferrari that deserves to wear its battle scars? A one-owner Packard that should stay original because the family still remembers it that way? These are the stories Wayne tries to protect. That respect for history has made him a favorite among serious collectors and museums. They trust him not just to fix a vehicle, but to interpret it, to bring it back to life without rewriting the story. It's an art form, one that takes restraint, sensitivity, and reverence. Wayne doesn't chase trends or bend to popular opinion. His compass is calibrated by principle, and in an era that often favors speed and spectacle, he's remained loyal to something slower, deeper, and infinitely more meaningful. A car with character. A car with truth. A car with a past, proudly worn on its sleeve. Wayne Carini has never viewed cars as commodities. To him, they're rolling time capsules, preserving the tastes, engineering marvels, and cultural values of their eras. But in the world of high-end collecting, not everyone shares that sentiment. As Wayne became more well-known, he found himself increasingly surrounded by people who didn't love the cars. They loved the value. The classic car market had evolved. What was once a tight-knit community of enthusiasts became a billion-dollar global industry. Auctions turned into spectacles, values skyrocketed, and cars that once sat forgotten in barns were now fetching seven figures under bright lights. In that chaos, something started to slip away: sincerity. Wayne navigated it carefully. He attended the high-end auctions. He rubbed elbows with celebrity collectors. But he never lost sight of what mattered: the stories. Whether it was a rare Duesenberg or a rusted-out VW Bug, he wanted to know the why it mattered to someone, what it represented, how it got here. He often said that a car without a story was just metal and rubber. Still, the shift in the industry wasn't easy to watch. Cars were being bought and flipped like stocks. Collectors began to chase trends rather than passion. And Wayne, with his heart rooted in the old ways, started to feel like a man out of time. But that only strengthened his resolve. He doubled down on authenticity. Whether advising clients or restoring for museums, he pushed for depth over dazzle. And people listened. His name became a stamp of integrity in a market that often lost its moral compass. When Wayne vouched for a car, people paid attention, not just because of his fame, but because of his principles. And while others chased the next big flip, Wayne focused on legacy, preserving not just the cars, but the culture around them. That meant educating new collectors, championing historical documentation, and always putting craftsmanship over commerce. Because in Wayne's world, the soul of collecting wasn't about price tags. It was about connection to the past, to the machine, and to the stories we tell when we fire up the engine and take that first drive. Now, in his early 70s, Wayne Carini hasn't slowed down much, but time has a way of catching up, even with legends. The garage that once echoed with the clang of tools and youthful energy now feels quieter, familiar, wiser. And Wayne, still standing at its heart, has begun to reflect on what it all means. He's not just a master restorer anymore. He's a mentor, a custodian of history. Younger mechanics and restorers now come to him not just for guidance, but for philosophy. They want to understand what he sees when he looks at a rusted fender, why he takes his time with original paint, why he values restraint over perfection. Wayne embraces that role, but it comes with a quiet understanding. He won't be in the garage forever. He's spoken candidly about legacy, about wanting to leave behind not just a collection, but a standard. A way of thinking about cars that values heritage over hype. There's also the physical toll. Decades of hard labor, bending, lifting, welding, have taken a toll on his body. His hands, once steady and strong, sometimes ache with the weight of time. He jokes about it, brushes it off. But it's there. Even legends feel the miles. Still, Wayne shows up, day after day, not because he has to, but because he can't imagine life any other way. The garage is his sanctuary. The smell of grease, the hum of a vintage engine warming up, the quiet conversations with old friends, it's where he feels most alive. He's begun handing more responsibility to the next generation, but he watches every move, not out of control, but out of care. He wants to make sure the soul of the work remains intact, that even as the tools and technology evolve, the spirit of the craft doesn't get lost. Wayne Carini is aging, but he's aging with purpose. Not clinging to the past, but carrying it forward. Every restored vehicle, every young restorer inspired, every story preserved. It's all part of the legacy he's quietly building, one wrench turn at a time. As Wayne Carini looks out across his garage, surrounded by vehicles that span over a century of design and engineering, one thing becomes clear. He's built more than just a career. He's built a legacy, one rooted not in fame or flash, but in devotion. To the cars, to the craft, to the people who've trusted him with their stories. In a world moving faster by the day, electric vehicles, AI, automation, Wayne's world feels like a quiet rebellion. It's slow, it's hands-on, it requires patience, memory, care. And maybe that's why people still gravitate to him. He reminds us of something that feels increasingly rare: authenticity. He never chased celebrity, but it found him anyway. And yet, through it all, Wayne never stopped being a restorer at heart. He still walks the floors of his shop with curiosity, still loses hours studying the curves of a forgotten classic, still takes the time to talk with someone who brings in a rusted-out shell of their father's old car just to ask if it's worth saving. To Wayne, it always is. And that's perhaps the greatest mark he'll leave, not just on metal and machinery, but on people. He's shown generations of car lovers that passion matters more than polish, that chasing perfection should never come at the cost of the soul. and that every vehicle, no matter how broken, has a story worth honoring. Now, as he steps into the quieter chapters of his life, Wayne isn't fading, he's mentoring. He's spending more time with his daughter Lindsay, guiding her not just in business but in philosophy. He's helping young restorers fall in love with the details. He's investing in museums and history projects that protect the legacy of the automobile itself. Wayne Carini may not always be behind the wheel, but his fingerprints are everywhere. On dashboards, under hoods, in every restoration that breathes new life into old metal. His road is long and winding, and while the journey may be closer to its final miles, the impact of his ride is just getting started. Because for Wayne Carini, it was never just about the cars, it was always about the connection between machine, memory, and meaning.
And that's a legacy that never goes out of style.